few minutes. I would like to say I apologize for not streaming like I should have been or whatever, because we are still kind of looking for a place to move to because of the situation that we are in. You guys don't know, we have basically until I want to say November to move from the house that we lived in for 7 years. Um, due to the person who now owns it wants to basically redo everything and renovate it since we've been here for like 7 years or whatever, and basically update it and all this that the other. So that is the reason why we haven't really been live anywhere. But with that being said, we are gonna play some farming sim. Um, Whenever we straighten out, I plan on coming back more than what I'm doing right now. So yeah, and then I'm gonna be like playing farming sim and Sims or whatever. My mic is on.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I just upped it a little bit so
Oh,
you guys can hear me. I tapped out, so I can't really. Okay, this is a modded game that we've already started from like 2 years ago. We just now decided to come back in a farming sim. So yeah, we have like unlimited money ish or whatever else.
asses.
Yeah, that's me. I haven't really played this like recently, so I'm still trying to grasp on.
Play mobile version though.
Oh my god, I did not mean to. Jump back in. Jump back in. I did not mean to deny you. I read the wrong thing. Um. Oh yeah, this one lets you use the up down keys, arrow keys.
Alright, I'm gonna join in. Be right back.
I don't like this one because like I don't remember the quick get back into the
Your
tractors and stuff.
controls are gonna be at the top. I think.
Oh, so I could chat.
Your controls at the very top.
Yeah, but
Alright, that's gonna probably ask you in a minute.
no, we're gonna deny him. I do not know what I'm in. I don't think anything's in this one. We already cleared this one. Wait for him to jump in. Oh no, I think this is out here. I don't think this. Here's what I need. Actually, wait. Okay, no, it's not that. Turn it off. That's so weird playing phone. Alright, how do I get out? Type out. Alright, cool. This is barley. It's not a Bailey. I'm gonna be asking the same question. What is this? What is that? What is this? I do not think we have the. So I remember what we were doing last time. I did. I gotta get a baler. I'm not sure if I have a baler on.
There should get better. Alright.
I don't remember how to drop things. How do I undo?
Sorry.
Oh, plow still down. How do I don't know how to get rid of the plow.
Oh, unhook?
Yeah.
It's gonna be fold plow with X. And then once it's folded,
That is not what I wanted.
fold. Now hold on a minute. Hold down your left click. I'm gonna go by stream. I can't see up there. All right, your left click and then middle mouse. Hold on. Hold on.
We have turn signals.
What'd you hit?
Two. We have backlights. We have turn signals. Nah. Are you in?
Yeah,
Oh, my blinker's on.
Stuck to the next.
Oh, it's tab. We only have one tractor, by the way. I don't know where the baler is. I don't even know where our home is. Yeah, home is. Look for baler. Do we have a baler, or do I have to go buy one?
I'm coming. Think about audio. I have no audio.
It's in the mini map. How'd you get into the store?
Door.
Oh, it's scared. Buy some stuff. We sold some cows.
I don't remember what we were doing.
Me either. Vehicles. Equipment.
We have some equipment. This sucks because I don't remember what we were.
That's a lot of money. I can leave the phone. I've played this. Now I don't know what I'm doing. 'Cause I'm confused. Or is this anything mobile or is it different?
Yeah, it's like mobile. I wish I had that. But
Is it your whatchamacallit?
possibly.
The sonar?
Possibly.
Okay, pizza store.
Oh yeah. Oh, crap.
The Baylor. I remember what we were doing now.
Got the 7,000.
I think we were trying to get a Baylor and we got frustrated and quit.
I'm about to restart my game to get my audio.
I don't know how to fix my. Do you know how to fix the inside?
My inside buttons.
Oh, yeah, it's C. Hi, Grizz. Were you on my tractor?
Oh, there's one harvester. Hold on. How many harvesters we got? 1,
2.
2?
Yeah.
Got anything in this field?
Barley.
No, but I sure need a baler though.
That's what I need. That's what I'm trying to get.
Baler eliminator. Do you have any timber trailers? See, I can figure this game out in no time at all. It's just my brain is not wanting to operate with my head. Because I can't see or remember what we actually have. I would love. I'll probably put you on No Man's later. You want to play this?
Fine. We got a tipper trailer.
So you start out with like a few things, and then you gotta work your way up.
We have a trailer.
You do? Thing in it?
Not that I can recall. No.
Alright, is it camera up?
No, but I can possibly. You stole my truck.
There you go.
No, you take it.
I'm gonna go over here and harvest the rest of this out right quick.
Not hardest. It wouldn't cut it with mine.
What, with that yellow one?
Good one.
Barley. Oh, it's just a... What we have?
I'll probably record more on mobile. Also, because I'm still just trying to get into gaming. Like the.
Oh, yeah. Nice.
I mastered PC gaming. I just gotta learn my.
He doesn't play Farm Sim.
In a while. Like 3 years ago.
But I'm planning to try to get a whole part. Actually.
I'm leaving. Cow. We have cow and sheep and other stuff in
Hey,
here.
come to the house.
I can't come. Stuck in the middle of the road, not obeying the law. What?
Come to the house. Oh, there's something. Oh, you can. This is our house, right? Iris. Here, this ain't that.
That is.
Oh, you can go in and sleep, right?
I can get through the door, yeah?
Oh my god, we're going surfing on the field.
How do I get to the door?
Oh, I'll just walk through.
Oh,
There you
yeah.
go.
It.
Hey, we're going surfing, boy.
I got a dog. I got a dog.
Come here.
Doggy.
Come here.
What?
Walk in. You gotta stand right here and turn the vacuum on so it's so-called dust off of.
There's a dog in here. I heard it. I'm not sure where it is.
I don't remember. I haven't played this in so long. Just this map alone. Been in the bed week. Hey, you bet lady I'll show you. She makes a living out of sleeping with her boyfriend. Or with her ex-boyfriend.
What?
Oh, he pays her about $600 a month to share the side of the bed.
It needs plowing.
All right, I'm gonna grab me a track. I'll be right back. I'll be right back. I got to fix my audio. Oh, I cannot play this game audio.
I don't know where I put the plow. Oh, there it is.
You can go ahead and plow it up. We'll get a baler next round. All right, so I got audio here. Give me permission.
Deny. Always deny.
Oh, so much better. Oh. That was me. This is what we know.
I don't know who that was.
Take a flush and he's out here picking cotton.
I don't know how to connect it.
When you line it up, you gotta line it in from the front. I mean, you may be able to do it from the side, but it'll be cute. Just like in real life, you gotta line the tongue to the tongue.
I don't like it.
Oh, you know how we were struggling gathering them bales up last time we played this one?
Yeah.
You know there's an auto-loading bale trailer mod now? And you just drive by and it loads the bales up for you. Take it wherever you want to drop it at, and drop it.
Really?
You know. Alright, back straight line. Just like a. Give me a ride, boy! It's not safe, Captain! Captain!
Oh, get rid of it.
It's fine. Let me go see if we got a cedar.
I don't know what we have because we're selling a bunch of stuff.
We're at $7,000.
But you can sell my cow if you want.
I'm good. I may need some stuff for later. I'm good, actually.
This is a big field.
Alright, we got a tractor, 2 harvesters. I think we picked up 2 because the red one didn't have a harvester.
Don't look it.
We do have a cedar. I have a wind roller. That was sweet. I don't have a wind roller. I don't even have a mower.
Cause you needed it for something. What are you in?
In the shop, I hit the garage key. I hit P. Hit garage, which is on the bottom. Enter. Literally hit enter key on your keyboard. That's stuff we own. Like
Oh, can lease items.
Yeah, we can leave.
Where's the roll? We'll go ahead and lease that.
If we have not sure. Oh,
How much? Gold something.
oh, something.
We're trying to get enough money for a mower or a
14. Did you put somebody driving the tractor or something?
Yeah.
Alright, we're at 87 now.
Alright, I got rid of the yellow one.
Alright, did you get rid of the header for it too? Is the yellow header?
I got it.
Alright, so do we need a mower?
Yeah.
Alright. I'll grab me a small tractor to pull that mower with. You already bought it, didn't you?
I'm still looking.
Oh.
We also need a baler.
Yeah. Hold on. Whoa, big boy. Whoa, whoa. How do I just miss? Stop now. Getting a baler. We don't need a plow. I got this little bit of stuff right here I can grab up right quick. Then we can plow it down.
Alright, let's ready to go pick up.
Alright, is there a tractor there or no?
We only have one tractor.
Okay. Oh!
Hit Q. Drop it.
Kind of lined up right in the play. Because unlike the mobile version, I don't think I'm pushing the tractor.
Oh dear. Where are we going? I run faster than you run. I don't know where the store is. Do you know where the store is?
I thought it was that country.
I am not Kanji! You ran me over!
Store?
I don't know in here. I'm used to it being across the street. I had to pick up map. Sorry guys, I'm just a beginner at Farming Sim on PC. I haven't played this game in like 2 years. Okay, it's been longer than 2 years because it came out in 19? We're playing 2019 version, so...
Ah, I fucked up. I teleported to the stop and forgot my tractor.
It says you're still in the tractor. You're still in the tractor.
I am now. Where you going?
I'm not even sure. How do you pull map?
Oh, escape and then hit the world-looking icon at the very top.
I don't know what I own. There's shop. Am I going the wrong way?
For shop?
Yeah.
Follow the rear. You can hit click on the shop and then hit the tag button and it'll make
I did. I did.
And hit 9 on your upper arrow key. Or you know what? Follow the green little blinker in the sky. Look straight ahead of him. Straight ahead.
Oh, it's backwards. I don't know whose field these are, but I'm sure it'll survive.
I have a question.
Yeah.
You're bringing a truck to the shop.
Yeah.
Coming for
A baler.
right?
I have my turn signal on.
I don't figure out how you do that.
1 and 2. 2's emergencies. 3 is right side.
Not for me.
Yeah, it is. 1.
Oh. You know what I do instead? I hit and jump out.
I turned your backlights on. Grizzly. Maybe missed the shop.
Hey. Welcome back.
Oh, you beat me to the shop because I was too busy helping
Rum,
you.
rum, baby. Rum, rum. Coming down the highway in my city.
We have some equipment here. I don't know what this is. Oh yeah, I reset it. I don't. Well, I cannot connect. I'll try. Bro, this is so hard. Mobile, I can tilt my phone, and this I cannot. I can't tilt my keyboard.
Tilt the keyboard? Or keep hitting the mouse. Rumble update or a UI or something?
You mean
That looks good.
possible? Yeah, I can't connect.
Okay, I'll come back.
Actually, let's go see what's in the shop. Probably something I don't need. Oh, yeah. Yeah, they did. Look, there's me. And then there's me again.
But I was looking at it like this. Like, this is
Yes, they updated it.
not knocking it.
Now, alright, we're gonna be playing some Sims probably in a while. I don't know.
My tractor lagged out and rubbed it.
I gotta show you something. I gotta show you something. I gotta go home. Where's home? Oh yeah,
What'd you do?
I gotta go home.
What'd you find out about?
I gotta show. Okay.
Yeah, super screen turned on by any chance?
I don't know if I do in this one or not, but the other one.
Oh no, I don't think I have the mod for that.
I'll show you what I have. You will love it. Car alarm? Yeah. What is it?
It was full.
Oh. Can I show you something? Can I, are you in the field by chance? I want to show you my new toy. Oh, I crashed. Oh well, it's fine. Oh, honey.
Get a chainsaw.
Huh? I don't know what you're talking about.
Trees.
Where are you?
Down here harvesting.
Say,
Gotcha.
say hello.
Why did you?
Say hello to my YouTube friend.
Look how you're holding it on my screen. Get back out. You're holding it like, oh, you're holding it on, okay.
Oh, yeah.
You can cut trees. He's over there.
He's over across the street.
Yeah.
I don't think they're mine.
Let you go.
I don't have access to this one.
What about the one up here at the corner by the Tipple Trail?
I don't have access to that either. The road. I've never used a chainsaw in this game.
I usually don't. I'm fucking up the pause. There's a whole forestry pit.
Help! Help! Help!
Oh, you can cut limbs off of certain logs.
I cut it too short.
Oh,
So now I got poke wood. I don't have a poke wood truck. Your beller's full! Please empty it! I was beeping like crazy. Hi guys, how's it going? We're playing a little bit of Farming Sim.
Welcome. I'm not. You can't see my point of view right this second, but I'm drunk driving a tractor apparently.
I'm still trying to learn this game. I've had it for like 2-3 years now, and I haven't really played it in a long time, so everything's still kind of new to me. Falling.
I see why the beginner tractor is falling and not.
No.
You have a cow by you.
I don't know if I do or don't.
I can still.
Still look right for it. I can't tell what I did to this. There's too much. Try to cut it into small.
I forgot.
Seriously, I can't see.
I forgot you didn't really play with me with the forestry part.
No. I was too busy with my cattle. And lamb. Whatever else I had.
Later on, I'll make a mod.
He's like, you. What do you get from? I told him I had something I gotta show him, and he's like, what did you get from the store? And I'm like, nothing. You're beeping again.
That's when it comes.
I don't know what to do with this. Gee, why?
Oh, I was trying to get Y. That part.
Alright, what do you want me to do with this wood?
Can you code it?
I don't know what I can do.
And pick it up and put it in the back of your pickup.
I think my truck should come to me at this point. Oh. Alright. Oh, I can carry it. Okay.
Gotta take a chance.
Oh, it's not in hands. It's too heavy.
Okay, I'll get it in a minute.
Oh yeah, we don't have super. That was fun. Now we have a big old bush in the way. What is wrong with that baler?
It's small.
It's full.
It's something.
What did you sell?
Oh, no. My bell's on this.
I don't have a Ford. I'm not sure how to
Figure it out in a minute.
tractor.
Try some.
Ooh,
Okay.
laggy.
I think it's the way I'm using. Like a big trailer. Fallen.
Which one did? Oh,
Can I tell you what she finds, please?
saying nothing.
61,000!
Huh? Come again?
60,000?
Don't recall. I have enough for this? Oh no, I don't have enough for this. Oh, if I get rid of my tractor.
Trying to buy.
A forestry machine.
We don't have enough trees.
Well, what do I do with the? You're beeping. All right, how do I get forks for that?
It should be in her baler. But I'll get it in a minute.
Spelling tip. Oh, bale collector. He's gonna get tired of me buying things.
Oh.
There's a front. I think there's a front. There's some back there. Yeah.
They don't connect to that truck.
Then where does it? What?
So when you go to buy it, it'll tell you what tractors they can use.
I don't want it.
Right here.
Here I am trying to do something nice, and it don't even fit.
For it.
Okay, where's the forks? I got it. Upgrades, I have like 6 different things here that I cannot use. I don't understand the logic.
Oh, that's it.
Okay, this way is the opposite direction. Alright, we're ready to go. How do I...
Oh wait, you bought another small tractor. Oh, so for lifting it, it's gonna be left click, hold down, and then I think it's rotate your mouse. Yeah, you move your mouse or your shoulder.
Okay, that's cool. Anyways, where's home? Oh, I'm going home. Does this train ever come?
Well, I think none of it's all.
Do not obey traffic laws here. Should always obey traffic laws. People around here don't wear seatbelts. They don't obey the traffic law. They don't wear seatbelts. They don't go by the speed limit. Yeah, so they just do a lot of illegal stuff here. But we're in a rural area. So, I am driving between the lines. Something I really can't. I can't. Yeah, I can do it, but I don't do it.
I don't know why it keeps.
I don't license. So, yeah, what am I admitting to? Exactly.
Yeah.
I am SpongeBob, my boy.
I got some people. Oh yeah, watch around your speedometer. You'll see the fuels.
Cow, cow. I flipped it. Oh, almost. Alright, what do I do with the bells when I bell? I mean,
Yeah. Oh,
I told you I bought 6 things I don't need. You're included. I was just kidding.
Well, I was going to tell you, I don't really know here fail. I mean, open around.
You hear bells falling apart. Two at a time?
Yeah, I used to carry 2 at a time.
How do I get them up?
Left click and then rotate your mouse.
Alright, cool. Where do I take them? Where's the location?
I guess we can just sell it as...
I don't think the bells are supposed to be going there.
Thank you for me. Go on to this one, I take and go fill it up.
Oh, we're top heavy. We're going down. We're going down. We're going in the circle. We're top heavy. We're about to flip.
I don't have to for a week. I didn't.
No, we just been working on one field. Oh man. Alright. Gotta find a store quickly. Because I'm tipping.
Well, I don't know where to sell them at.
I'm about to find a place where I'm riding on my front 2 wheels. This is what you call a reverse wheelie. No, this is what really happens if your tractor's over full, like overweighted. Yeah, because tractors are top heavy. Actually, they're butt heavy. So if you're going up a hill, I would suggest going backwards. Don't go forward because it'll flip over on top of you. Tractor logic.
Smart boy.
Woo! I'm drifting. I'm drifting. It's too heavy. It's too heavy. Where is... I think I put it here.
At least I know I was right that we could actually build this though. I didn't actually know I'd be right on that.
I'm in the wrong spot. I think I'm in here for the drain. We're about to make the oopsie. Whee! Do I take this to the store? I feel like there's some place I can...
You can Google it.
What is it, barley?
No, it's straw. I mean, I kind of figured it's farming sim that we could.
Like the other one allows you to take it to the the bars and places like that, but
for mobile.
Yeah. Hey,
It's a little bit easier on mobile because you.
Is that you flying up? Oh no, that wasn't this someone. Hey, I lost my bell.
How did the bell fly? Hold on, I'm good. Oh, I only question for you. Delta near the animal dealers. Drive over to Symbol. The bell collect the bell thingy. It'll
I messed up
automatically for you.
I see. I went overloaded.
So really, you can sell it there, and then you probably can make it. It's right next to the animal shelter. I can ping it for you on mine, but I don't know if it was.
All right. So where's the animal?
Animal dealer. Yeah, you're right beside him.
That's my issue. I can't figure out where to take it.
It should be a little grape on the ground.
Was it this one? Wait.
I can't tab to you. Tab out, I'll look.
Because I tried to give it to this grape, but there was a car in the front of it, and I didn't want to run over the car. Here, I'll squeaky mic for a second. My bad, I'm learning how to pop a wheelie with my floater.
Hold on, I'm coming. I popped over to the...
Yeah, the cars are... Oh, it's right here. Oh, I was at it to begin with.
Yeah.
I'm coming back around.
I'm sitting on the roof.
Why are you on the roof? Do a backflip. I'm just kidding.
Do a front flip. My cat flip.
I'll get the glue. It's gonna be hot. Piping. It's right here.
Right here. Where are you going?
That's the one I was at, but I couldn't figure out how to. I lost my bell.
That's super straight mod. I can keep them hauled off.
I gotta figure out how to work it again. It keeps falling off. All right. Over here is where I was trying to. I was trying to drop it there.
Line it right there. Here.
I thought I had a jump.
Where's the train, by the way?
Go catch it. You're running late. Oh, my bell's falling. My bell's falling.
Alright, raise it up. Drive up to us. Right, raise it up a little bit more.
I can't raise it.
No. A little bit more. God, dismount bell. There you go.
This is horrible. This is so horrible. I'm stuck. There's your bell. Oh. You said go here, right?
Yeah.
I'm going backwards. Oh no! Oh no! How do I
Yeah.
fix it? I gotta, hang on, I gotta fix my fork.
Yeah.
I
Can I
gotta,
borrow your
I
tractor for a
gotta,
second? I want to test the theory of mine.
hang on, I'm digging a hole. I'm digging a hole to bury myself. Figure
I'm
it
going
out.
to got terraform model.
Okay, so this, and then, wait, this, and then this. Okay,
Alright,
alright.
just bring one. Just bring one bell. Let me test.
Get out of my way. Uh, oh, hang on. I gotta.
Fuck me. Fuck me, got it.
Hey, Grizzly.
No, what's up? Oh, yeah.
I think I'm doing enough damage.
Alright, raise your arms up.
Hang on.
Not in real life.
Real life action. Alright, so I gotta
Alright, rotate your fork. Leave it still.
drive up.
Fork up, fork down. Alright, just bring that one. Fork up. Raise arm. Raise fork.
It's hard. Okay. Alright, we're going backwards. Where am I going? Whee! Oh. Oh, we're going. I don't know what's wrong with it. I don't understand, Grizzly. Grizzly, this is horrible.
Right there, hold on, stop. Back up. Right there. Lay on the ground.
All
Lay
right.
on the ground.
Hang on. It's stuck with poop. The bueno. Is there a train coming?
Yeah.
I don't know, seriously. How do I fix this?
Shelter near the animal dealer.
I mean, there's a thing here. It has the.
Is it a bell?
I see a bell.
Is it a bell with a ground symbol?
There's a. Train! Really?
Basically. Wait a minute. Huh? I understand. It says you sell it on the shelter near the animal dealer. Two ground symbol, blah blah blah. Got a little bit to the south, and you see a bell symbol. I don't. What shelter?
Shelter you probably need to be in. We cannot figure out where to deposit the hay. If you.
If you need to know an explanation, I haven't played this game in a long time, and I've been playing mobile, but that's about it. No, I don't know where to drop the head.
Hang on, I'm doing a handstand. Butt stand. There we go. We're gonna call it a butt stand because, you know, why not?
What's that down there?
Hang on. Dude, why are you running like that? Oh, I think we found it. I found it. It's all the way down.
I think that is?
Yeah, I think that's it.
I thought it was a silo.
We're gonna feed it some hay today. This is a hilarious thing I've done in a while.
What do you think of this game?
We gotta learn it before we do anything.
Would you play it more?
Yeah, I'll own it, but honestly, I think I'm confused on where to go with the hay.
Not a fan. I know, like on No Man's Land, which is what I've been watching lately, you can just drop it in the middle of some dirt.
We're gonna see if we can sell it to Silo. If not, I'm just gonna. I don't know. If this is not right, I'm just gonna leave this.
How about that little bit? You can go ahead and fly right in.
I don't think it's right. Eat it. Have fun. Still have some bells?
Yeah.
Thought you gave me a tractor with no gas. I know I'm missing spots. While he's trying to figure out where to take it. We have like a speed on or something.
No, you can turn it on yourself.
It just looks like a.
Is this Ravenport by any?
I don't know where we are. We're in the middle of the field. I don't remember where I left off in this game when I stopped originally, so we're just picking up off. We have no plans honestly for this game. We're just playing it just because. Don't tell me you found it! And you drove me like 5 rounds away. How can I tell if it's full? Oh, down the bottom.
Start beeping.
Beeping how? I'm a car alarm. Oh, I missed that whole stupid.
Alright, where did I lose my other bale?
In the middle of the road somewhere.
I don't have a, hello, right? Flight Note 7.
No, we don't. Guess we're just gonna go and test it. Good luck.
Oh, there's a lot of stuff.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff in this. He didn't like my chainsaw.
I'm still driving a lot quicker.
know where you're located to help you. Where are you?
Not looking anywhere.
I don't even know where that was. Oh, you unflipped it? This thing ain't ever gonna get full, is it?
Yeah, you gotta drive over the clumps, like the tan clump.
Yeah, I know that, but it's like it's 76.
Oh.
Are you gonna flip it again? Hey, if I run out of gas, are you gonna go fill it up?
Yeah. Oh, God.
In belly? You're just gonna do a little zigzag. Try to fill it up as much as I can. Also, it starts beeping at 89.
Yep. It's at 100, ain't it?
Nope, it's at 95. It's about to be at 100 when I run over this strip. It's at 100.
Alright, so when you get out to the edge of the field, you'll find open trailer,
That was not the edge of the field.
hit Y again to close the trailer back up. So
I'm gonna find something else to do. Why? You get the fun of trying to flip the thingy with the dollies.
early. Definitely.
Can I?
Yeah, you should go with it.
Alright, where is it? Up. I don't remember stuff. Oh, there it is. I just. Oof. You know what? Maybe it'll fit on my other tractor.
It should. What's the thing? Okay.
He said it was. we're in a predicament. We got stuck on the. We're not stuck anymore. What? Yeah, we got stuck on the train track. Well, what else are we supposed to do? This thing's big. I wasn't watching my corner. Dun 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 dun.
Alright.
I forgot a little bit.
You're good. Good, that's where you're at. Alright, you just come right there. Open the loader.
I don't know how.
Do it.
All I have is this.
That's all you got? Yeah. What?
That's a you problem. I came off when I was going forward. That sounds like a you problem, sir. Can we fix this predicament? I don't know. Can I help you?
Really?
Okay, for real though.
L7?
Yeah, I can do that.
Hold on.
Put it in. Alright, that's fine. Drop it. Back up. Back up. There you go. Now back up. Back up. Beep. Beep. Back up. You gotta tilt it down. There you go. Back up. Back up. Alright, one down. Ah!
Ah!
No! My hay bell will protect me. Ah! Alright, now onward, my noble steed. Ah! Drop it. Drop it. I said drop it.
What? You pulling out random things. You want to do?
Sure. We can do this. The easy way or the hard way? Whee!
What the hell?
Up, 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 up. This one, up, up. Up, up. Ah, my legs. Up, up, my leg. Oh, leg. My poor leg. Alright, and now we're just gonna come on, do it. Grab it? Oh, I think that goes stabbing me in the leg. I'll put it in. Like that. Hello. Hello.
Oh no, it's not even working.
Goodbye. Oh! There's nobody driving this thing. Haunted. I can't help. You want me to help you? I can help.
Hey, super strength. I can pick all these girls up.
Somebody forgot to.
Oh, I thought it was part of the actual game base now.
No, you gotta mod it.
There's like 3 bells. Got one in the field.
Why does it keep beeping at me? Why do you have a chainsaw? You bought a chainsaw!
No, you bought one.
And you get to use it? You know what? I'm done. We didn't even get to stow a fill. We just been busy.
Burning.
Alright, let me get the plow so I can... But there's still some bells out here. Bellers that needs to be belled.
I'm not worried about it. Get some more next sowing. I know it hurt.
Can I hire a worker, dude? Millions.
I'm sorry.
You leased it? No, we're gonna hire a worker.
Any bells?
No? There's one in front of the tractor. So I can't move, but I can run it over.
Don't and knock all the bells out of the trailer.
Watch out, Grizzly!
What the fuck? I freaked out.
Why did she freak you out?
Freaked out when you had me. Oh, yeah. I see.
It's in the corner there. There's one over here still.
I know, but I remember those workers get blocked by the sequels and objects. Alright, walk by my place. What flip? Worker? What?
What is it stuck on now? The baler. Yeah, it got stuck in a hay bale. This reminds me of Wally.
That is interesting. Hey, wait, you didn't put
Now he's shaking him. Are they ready now? Where do I take it?
what? Open the map. Right here, the barn.
Okay, so it's going.
Yeah, turn on this. And click the barn. And click tag click. That's where it's going. We're gonna take that way.
I can't. I'm trying to take you with me. Tap, 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 tap. Hey, so how much do we get paid if we lose, like, all of the hay?
$5.
Really?
Right here with the turn off the power.
Oh, oh no. Oh no. Oh no.
Right.
Close to it. There's a lot of trees. I remember why I quit playing this, because the distance of everything was like hard and I couldn't figure out how to drive.
How about would you play No Man's Sky?
Horrible.
Now, would you play it?
How bad is it?
Okay, so basically you start out with so much stuff, right? So
Oh.
much money.
Didn't we try that
No,
one
we
time?
have not. No. But everything can be sold at a grate.
Okay.
It'll be a
Not too
grate
bad.
like 20 feet away from you.
Oh, that's not too bad then.
Stop is also there.
Okay, that's not too bad sounding.
It's a whole lot simpler than this. I would say.
Okay, so how do I...
Didn't plow my field.
How do I...
Tell me.
Oh, it took it. But one.
It'll auto unload itself, so stay on the grade.
I got it. But I can't come home.
Hey, look, I got my bell.
I can't come home.
Hey, look, I have my bell. 180.
How did you think?
I'm not even back in truck and hit L and fasten it up.
I need help. Ariel's here.
I forgot where he is.
Stuck is an understatement. You flipped the truck! Are you here? Why? Emily, bye.
I gotta get the truck unstuck.
Where's the truck?
It's put over there somewhere on against the wall.
Inside, outside?
I don't know where it's at. How did you get stuck in a pile of metal?
I don't even know.
I know how I did that. I was acting like I was Dukes of Hazzard.
How do I get back to the...
You can reset the shots.
I don't know how.
That question. Bell's working.
Like 3,000. Oh, 2... Where are 2,000? How do I get my truck undone, Grizz? Well, guys, that's gonna conclude this shipwreck of a video. If you like what you see, hit that thumbs up, follow, subscribe, and where you are. If you're on YouTube, please. If you ever rumble, hit that follow. I will catch you all later. Goodbye, guys.
Bye.
While I'm off, I'm gonna figure out how to fix it. Anyways, catch you later. Bye.